So I had this idea like a month ago because I saw the Mountain Dew hot sauce and thought that was a really cool thing that no one's really talking about. And I had the idea and I waited, and then suddenly I saw the Rhett and Link video about it. And then the Danos guy did a wing sauce video about it. And there's a lot more videos than I wanted. So I gotta hurry up and get this one out before I'm even more behind. Mountain Dew hot sauce. Those are very powerful words that evoke some very powerful feelings in those who hear it. To some, rightful disgust. To some, full-blown anger. To some, intrigue. I was filled with inspiration to take it even further into the realm beyond our understanding. And then I realized I was making hot sauce out of soda and then lost all inspiration. Nevertheless, I thought that a good idea had come out of this and that we should probably follow it at least a little bit. Well, Mountain Dew officially produced their Habanero lime garlic sauce based off the original Mountain Dew. I decided not only did I want to recreate that, but I also wanted to make one for the Code Red and Voltage varieties. Because why should we focus on what is objectively the worst flavor of Mountain Dew? But enough of me trying to connect with the generation I clearly lost touch with by being off of Twitter for the last decade. Let's just jump right into this. I probably can't say that. Let's do this. That just sounds bad. I can't think of a... Roll that! No, that doesn't work either. Just show the clips. So per Mountain Dew's official sauce that they put out, the marketing that they gave said that it was a habanero sauce, and it only makes sense that it's very lime flavored. It's very lime forward. That's one of the prevailing elements in a good hot sauce and also a prevailing element in Mountain Dew, so it only makes sense that they'd go the same direction. I really wish I could get my hands on the genuine article to compare it to, but unfortunately, rather than putting this on shelves for millions of people to react to, they instead released about 500 if I read my intel correctly. However, we can take our best guess based on what we see and what would make a good hot sauce with these elements and just go from there. That seems like the best plan. So, that being said, I gathered up a variety of ingredients. As explicitly stated on the container, it is a habanero hot sauce, so that's where we're gonna start. So, we're gonna break out the cutting board and the binging with Babish camera angle, and we're just gonna roll into this. First off, we're gonna take those habaneros, we're just gonna hack off the top, cut it up into some rough pieces, keeping the seeds for the most part. After that, we really wanna get to the flavor element of this sauce. So a big part of that is gonna be garlic. We're gonna add just a ton of garlic, more garlic than you think you're gonna need. That looks like roughly enough, so we're just going to move on from there. My hands are going to smell like garlic for the next week, spoiler alert. After that, we want to add some other heat to this, another element to it, some more depth to it. And I think another really great way to go with that is going to be serranos. I think serranos are going to bring us closer to that off green, off yellow sort of color that the sauce in the picture has, so we're going to really focus on that. We're going to add those serranos, same thing, we're going to take out some of the seeds, but not most, chop off the top, hunk it up, throw it in the container, keep going. From there, I really want to add body to this sauce. What's important to me is that it's not just some thin little sweet fire sort of thing you'd put on top, but something that really has its own sort of consistency and mouthfeel to it. So it's going to be really important that we add these bell peppers to it. We're going to add a whole bell pepper. It's going to get plenty enough body to it. It's going to get blended down. It's going to make the whole thing into more of a paste than a thin sauce. Last but not least, if you're not getting your Mountain Dew from Taco Bell, I don't quite trust it to have enough lime flavor. So that being said, in lieu of a traditional vinegar, after we have all those roughly chopped and added to the base of a food processor, we're going to let those hang out for a little bit, let the vinegar start to break them down a little bit, start to seep in there, and then after that, we're going to blitz the food processor until it's a rough paste. You want to keep going until the food processor ideally won't have much else it can do to it. It'll be a thing that might go good on a taco, but you would never call it a hot sauce person. Now, very important, do not add the Mountain Dew to the hot sauce now. Do not add it when you're putting it in the food processor. Carbonated liquid in an enclosed space, that's going to end well for no one. It's going to foam out the sides no matter how tight you think the lock is. Trust me, I have done this before. I cook things weirdly. But now that we're done processing it, we're going to move that paste into a bowl where we're going to slowly add Mountain Dew to it and give that a sweetness it desperately needs at this point. We're going to switch from a food processor to a stick blender. You could also call it an immersion blender, but like stick blender sounds a lot funnier to me, so we're just going to roll with stick blender. We're going to blend that up until it's a nice toxic green paste. I don't quite know. I was really going for bright green. I didn't think I'd hit it that much on the nail. So with that, we got our first sauce done and we are ready to move on. And now we have to move on to the stuff without source material. We have to sort of freeform the rest of this. The idea of Code Red sweet chili was something I said to myself as a joke. And then when I stopped laughing, I was like, write that down. But in all seriousness, I don't quite know where I'm going with this. I have a decent idea what I'm going to do, and I hope it turns out really well. So the first step is going to be to take the Code Red and start to reduce it down. We're also going to add a little bit of cornstarch to it to hopefully work on the consistency a little bit better. Bring it more in line with the sauce consistency, because when you boil it down, if you take it too far, it's going to just become very syrupy and thick. That's not quite what we want. And now for the actual chili part of sweet chili. So for this, we're going to take red chilies. We're just going to dice those up, put those into a food processor, and we're going to chop them. And rather than blending these all the way like we did with the green sauce, we're going to keep this at this rough consistency. We just want little bits of chilies that'll be floating around in the sauce and permeate a little bit of spice into it, but not too overpowering. We're not going to go too far into this. So after giving enough time to reduce, we're going to add those chilies into the pot and just stir that around, let it cook for a little bit longer, increase the heat, hopefully get it to caramelize a little bit, get those sugars to really cook down better. And then once the heat has softened the peppers a little bit, this part of the sauce is done. From here, all we're going to do is we're going to add some corn syrup to it. That's going to give it some body, and then we'll be all set with a pretty decent sweet chili. So let's talk about some challenges as to why a blue barbecue sauce might be a little bit more difficult to make and why it probably doesn't exist so far. Barbecue sauce is typically made from the caramelization of sugar with some sort of acid and a bunch of other flavorings in there. So if I wanted to make one that was blue, bright blue, like I had in my mind, I had to take out a lot of those key elements and find alternatives. For instance, brown sugar is a very big flavoring element, and that's not something I could use here. Anyways, here's the direction I decided to take. First things first, we're going to put the voltage into a pan and start reducing it down. We want to take out as much moisture as possible from this. You'll actually see later on that I didn't do this long enough, and I probably should have taken it a little bit further, but it's fine, we take it most of the way. And then from here, we need to add something that's going to give it a smoky component. While I would really like to use smoked paprika is just a very good spice. It adds that nice round note to it. If you ever think of like fast food barbecue sauces, those normally have smoked paprika as a very strong flavor in there, but it's too red, it's too bright. To get the flavor I want, I'm going to have to add too much of it. And it's going to completely muddy this sauce. It's going to look really bad, so I can't take that direction. So instead, what we're going to use is liquid smoke. Yes, this is also going to change the color, but it's okay. We don't have to use as much of it to get the same sort of flavor. And it's also not a bright color like red that's going to compete with blue. It's going to muddy the blue, but it's not going to completely take it away from blue. From there, we're going to add some seasonings to it. We're going to add some garlic, some onion powder. We're going to add chili powder. Chili powder is also a red powder, and it should be taken out for the same reason as the paprika, but it's a very unique flavor. I don't know what I can switch it out with, and also we don't have to add too much of it. So yes, while it is going to mess up the color, it's not a deal breaker. We're just going to keep rolling with it. It'll still be blue. It'll be fine. I somehow forgot to mention this with the voiceover, but corn syrup. So from there, we're just going to turn the heat to medium. We're going to let those flavors get to know each other and sort of hang out, let the dried seasoning sort of hydrate a little bit and seep into those sauces. Right now, this looks like a muddy mess. It looks like swamp water. We're going to add some blue food coloring to it for now. A little bit cheating, but shut up. After that simmered down for a while, we're going to add some yellow mustard just to give it some acidity. This shouldn't affect the color too much. We should still be pretty much okay. We're going to add some Worcestershire sauce. This is also, again, just a very classic barbecue sauce flavoring. Finally, some more food coloring. This one's actually a different color because I want a little bit more bright, a little more electric, closer to the original voltage color. Finish it off with some vinegar, and after this is simmered down a little bit longer, we are all set. We're going to throw that in a container, and we're going to just come back to it when we need it. So now we have all three of our sauces made, and I gotta say, mad proud of myself. Trying these individually, they actually came out pretty good. I like to think I'm pretty good in the kitchen, but when things actually come out really well like this, I always get a little bit surprised. One of those like, this was complete and utter BS, but we're here. We're living the dream. Anyways, we have these three sauces, but we have nothing to try it on. I think there's only one way we can go with this. There's wings, which is the obvious suggestion, but how are we gonna prepare these wings? What complements Mountain Dew so well? It's Doritos. You knew it was Doritos. We saw the thumbnail. I'm fooling nobody. We're moving on. So let's go ahead and make a Doritos breading. See what we can do. So we're gonna take a big handful of Doritos straight out of the bag into that food processor. I don't know why you're making this. I feel like one person was enough, but you do you if you're following this as a tutorial. So just coating these in Doritos alone could have worked, I'm sure. But at the same time, it didn't quite feel as complicated, difficult, extra work. We're gonna lay this out on a tray, and then to that we're gonna add a cup of flour, as well as some garlic powder, some onion powder, and some MSG. MSG is surprisingly one of the big flavors in Doritos, so this is really gonna make it taste like Doritos. From there, we're gonna add a little bit of cornstarch also, and just mix that up, and hopefully that'll be a perfect crispy little exterior. Coat it with some Mountain Dew and it'll come out perfect. So I have 6 wings here. I, for some reason, thought that Just the juices from the chicken would be enough to coat the wings. If you're gonna do this, don't do that. Do an egg wash, do milk, do something. As we'll see later, these did not hold together nearly as well as I wanted them to. Ideally, you'd want to deep fry these in a small pot of oil. I didn't have enough oil on hand, and God forbid I run out to go grab another ingredient. So we just did these as a shallow fry, a little bit of oil in a pan over medium, put them in, turning occasionally, and as you'll see, just after a little bit, these have a beautiful crust. Oh, I just can't get over how well and perfect the crust turned out. I really was worried that the flour wouldn't cook in time and the Doritos would burn when the flour was still chewy, and it actually came together surprisingly well. Like, look at that. That's actually a good wing. After about 10 minutes or so, these are done. I'm gonna pull them out, put them on a rack to dry, and only thing from there is to coat them in sauce. If you're like me, you will do this, and then the camera will corrupt the footage of you putting the sauce on them. So instead of seeing the absolute car crashes that is the sauced wings, you're going to see them from a distance in this upcoming clip. Oh man, this I would like to be a YouTuber. I just am incompetent. So the only thing left to do is to try these wings, and I had my roommate to help me out with this one. I do apologize, the lighting in this one is sort of atrocious. Expect growing pains in the next dozen videos on this channel as I try to figure out how to make it lit and not look horrible. Hopefully these clips actually look okay. They look decent on my camera, but who knows? Anyways, so I sat him down. I told him the brief gist of what was going on. So the plan was to have him go down the line. We had the control of just the bare wing. That seemed like the best place to start. And then from there, we're just gonna go in order. The traditional Mountain Dew, and then the Code Red, and finally the Bolted. So I started off with the Dorito wing by itself. And
I need to start coating my wings in Doritos. That's actually not bad.
My only sort of gripe, I didn't use any binder. I just thought that like the chicken juices would be enough, and they like fell apart in the fryer. So those were the two prettiest ones. So the Doritos wings turned out as good as they looked. Oh man, I was so happy. I was so glad with that. If all they needed was for the breading to stay on, and they would have been perfect. Oh, they were so good though. They were cooked well throughout. The wings themselves were good. The breading, oh, I have to agree with him. If there's anything you take away from this video, start using that. Whenever you make wings, use Doritos to coat on them. It sounds dumb because it is, but dumb things work because here I am. So after that pretty decent high, I was optimistic that the next ones would go pretty well, but well, let's just see what he has to say about the next wing.
It is soggy AF. So the little bit of heat's there.
Yeah.
You can taste the hot sauce.
It's very like fresh pepper taste. Like the bell pepper was very much, it's there.
Like this is like if you rubbed a habanero on here. Just
essence of habanero.
Yeah, you know like what they do with like the bruschetta with like the garlic. That's kind of what I'm getting from this. So for the Mountain Dew scale, I'm honestly gonna have to say like 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
I hardly taste it. The habanero taste, that's really nice, but that's all I'm tasting.
Oof, yeah, no. Yeah, that that didn't go great. This was what I put a lot of time into, and I can kind of in retrospect figure out what I did wrong. I think the idea of putting the bell pepper in really muddled the flavor and added too much water to it. That's what made them all soggy. So I'm thinking if I did this again, I would just completely forego that. More Mountain Dew. More Mountain Dew was needed. Probably should have reduced that down, used it as a syrup, but anyways, moving on.
It's doing its best. I am pleasantly surprised, but it actually makes it better because it's getting that sweet chili vibe a little bit more. Pretty good. I am pleasantly surprised.
So this red sauce was one I, again, was quite optimistic about, and this time my optimism was well placed. Yeah, he actually liked this one, and I agree. It actually came out pretty well. It was very sweet. It had a nice richness to it. The chili added a nice element to it. It was spicy, but it wasn't that spicy. On to the next one, I guess. Ah, yes, my crime against humanity. Here we go with the blue barbecue sauce. All in all, I think this has a very, very good shot. I think that there's a lot going on here that actually just works really well together, so all things considered, I have a lot of hope with this one.
Oh, that's actually really crispy still. I'm conflicted. I don't feel like I should like this. I would consider it less of a barbecue sauce and more of a sweet teriyaki.
Blue teriyaki doesn't sound quite as good as blue barbecue, though.
It does not, no.
You do like a actually, it's pretty turquoise. We call it turquoise teriyaki.
So honestly, not as bad as I thought.
And there we have it. It actually was decent. But yeah, I overall, I'm glad with how these turned out, but I definitely learned a lot of things. I definitely know where I would go if I redid this. But yeah, all that being said, I think this was a pretty fun little project. I'm pretty happy with it. It's definitely something I want to revisit. Not super soon, but if this gets any traction and if you guys are interested in seeing it again, I totally have a lot better ideas. We're going to go just super soda forward. We're going to really make sure those taste just like Mountain Dew, like in your face Mountain Dew. But that being said, if you somehow made it to the end of this video, it must mean that my personality didn't completely make you run for the woods, so a like on the video would be nice, maybe a subscribe, it would really mean a lot to me. But yeah, that's all for this one, and stay cool. Please don't wait for me to figure out an outro.